Hello, I'm Luan Falco, and this is my Agile Thought of the Day. It occurred to me yesterday that we have this thing in almost every testing framework, this assert not null. And I believe that this is just a mistake, that it doesn't add value to your testing, and if you're using it, probably something is going wrong. And so, before we get into that, I just want to talk very quickly on the 4 reasons that we actually write unit tests, with a little bit of emphasis on the first and the fourth. So the first is specifications, and the last is granularity. And so here, I have a piece of code I found on GitHub. There's nothing particular about this piece of code, but I think it's sort of a good generic example. And tests have 2 parts. They have the do, and you can see that right here in the collections. We're going to do something with this file, and then they have the verification part. And here, that's actually the remaining 7 lines of this test. And so, let's assume that we just look at this assert not null. In terms of spec, this gives us absolutely nothing. It doesn't tell us what we should have done with this file, what we expect back. We have no idea whatsoever other than it should have done something. It doesn't give us any kind of spec as to what this file should have actually done. But a lot of times it's actually used in combination with something else, like this line right underneath it. And the thing here is sort of collections is a hard thing to verify, so they're sort of doing a couple spot checks, right? And so here this is sort of nice. Instead of just doing check that the size equals 1, we're doing 2 checks. We're checking that the size is 1 and of course that it's not null. But the problem is this isn't actual granularity. And to show that, I'm just going to use a little example. Let's write a test here, and we'll do a test not null. And so here I'm going to create a string, which is going to be null. And then I'm going to do assert not null, which is what we're talking about here. And then in the same pattern, I'm going to do a secondary test. So an assert equals, and I expect the length of this string to be 3. Now if I run this, it's going to fail. And people will see this as, hey, this is great granularity. Look, it failed right here. On line 10, obviously S is null. The problem is if I take this line out and I run it again, I get the same thing. Hey, well now I've failed the line underneath it, which is again line 10, and I got this failure because it was a null pointer exception. So I get the exact same granularity that my S is null, and that is not allowed. And so we run into, then of course there's also this case that if we just reverse that, if I don't do the secondary test and just say assert not null, I have 0 spec. There's no idea whatsoever should have occurred at this point. So it's just something I want you guys to think about. If you're looking at your test, usually assert not null occurs because what you're trying to verify is hard and you don't have a nice way to do it, and you use it as part of a spot check. Which of course, if you have something that's hard to verify, I highly suggest you check out approval tests because that makes it very easy. But if you're using assert.null, probably you're doing something either useless or wrong.